The 2024 Grand Final is going to be an absolute cracker. And who else to join me for a Grand Final preview? Not only a fan of the Swans, but one of the best footy YouTubers out there. Riles Macca is an absolute star, a ripping conversation, and a genuine young gun in this space. This was a lot of fun. We didn't neglect you, Brisbane, either. I think everyone, regardless of who you barrack for, is really going to enjoy this chat. Hopefully half as much as I did, as I hope to collab a little bit more with Riles later on. But here is your 2024 Grand Final preview with Riles Macca. Enjoy. Probably know this man, and if you don't, you need to. Over 17,000 subscribers, the number one Sydney man on YouTube, ready for now his second grand final as a content creator, and of course, Sydney's fourth in just over a decade. The great man himself, Riles Macca, welcome to you.
Oh, thanks very much for the intro, mate. Very humbled by that. Really keen for this matchup this weekend, and keen for a chat.
And as we always like with any kind of grand final, mate, the first thing we do from the neutrals' point of view, which I know you don't belong in that camp, but as the neutrals in the room that go, how did these teams match up this year? And that game at the Gabba was extraordinary.
Yeah, it certainly was. If I'm frank, I thought the ball skills from either side that day was pretty subpar. It was very close though. Both teams had their momentum swings. But yeah, I guess you can't really judge on that game too much. We had Papley go down. Will Haywood was basically playing on one leg. Rampy went down as well. No row bottom too, which hurt with our contested game. Oscar McInerney destroyed Grundy. He's not going to be playing this weekend. So, yeah, there's a lot of variables that are changing with this matchup once again this weekend. But yeah, I just think right off the bat, two high quality teams. Both teams' strengths are very match up well against each other. Very similar, I should say. Sorry, and I think this one's just going to be a beauty.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a beauty as well. The ratings are going to be absolutely off the chain. Look, I like asking everyone this, and I've put it as a poll for Saturday morning. Grand final starting time, 2:30. Are you with the majority? Are you with the minority? Do you not give a stuff? Where do you stand on the starting time?
Oh, just keep it 2:30. I'd like to be traditionalist here and there, but just the vibe and the feeling. Afternoon game finishes around 5 p.m. The nice sunset with your team lifting up the cup. Should you you supported the team you support win? So just keep it in the afternoon. I don't like games finishing right late at night. I know the 5:15 slot seemed nice last week because it finished around 7:30, but just keep it at 2:30. The nice sunset when your team lifts up the cup's pretty sweet.
I'm totally with you. Could not agree with you more. And if your team gets up, and of course, if your team doesn't, we'll talk about that in a minute. But if your team gets up, you've got legitimately the rest of the night to soak it in as a fan. If you can't get to the game or anything like that. But the downside is, mate, is that if you lose, you've got a long night ahead of you. And yes, the rest of the off season is differing stages of grief. I remember back to 2012, which is strange because actually no one played in the grand final this year. Absolutely, Hawthorn didn't lose that, but I remember it, and it was hellish for that evening ahead. How have you gone with the previous Sydney losses emotionally? Have you gotten better? Is it any easier to deal with? Talk us through how you've gone through seeing 2022 and then further back to 2016 and 2014.
Well, as I've grown up a bit, I'm only 21 years old. So as I've grown up, I've grown, a lot more passion for supporting the Swans. 2014, I still obviously support the team, but not as big as I am today. Obviously still pretty disappointed how we're just blown out of the water. Mentally didn't turn up. And that's been a big thing with grand finals. I think the mental side of things has always been a bit of an issue. Like in the build up to grand finals, Longmo's always said this is just another game instead of treating it as more of like a serious game, given the how big a grand final is. And then 2016 felt pretty bullish coming in as favourites, but again the umpire there's still definitely a high amount of Swans contingency that do complain about the umps. I just like to forget about that game, but I just felt the Dogs were the better side in the day, to be fair, and just smacked us around the footy. And that's the big one, I think, for us, the contested game. We always seem to fall apart in that era, like we did in 2022 as well. I mean, I think in that first quarter, the Cats already kicked like 4 goals to 2 points from stoppage or something crazy like that. So, yeah, I've got to bring the ferocity around the footy. And, 2022, went to the game, did a bit of a vlog as well, and I was just sitting up at the top of the Q3 section, just Just the how do I put it? Just your emotions are just zapped. Like your energy is just totally zapped when you're witnessing a game like that. You make it so far, and then you finish off a season like that. But 2022 is more of like when we won the prelim, I was like, I can't believe actually in the grand final. It felt like a very premature finish. We had such a dream run with no injuries, and we were very consistent. We were riding that momentum wave. But now there's a bit more pressure and a bit more. We've got to have a bit more arrogance, I feel, as Sydney supporters. So healthy arrogance, respect to Brisbane, but yeah, just a bit more of that arrogance heading into this grand final, thinking, we're the best we're obviously have a lot of pressure, but we really need to get this done and finally lift up a cup. So yeah, it's been different emotions, especially with 2022, but I feel like this year we've got to say, hey, this has to be our year to finally lift up the cup.
Yeah, I think that's more than reasonable. And don't worry, Brisbane fans, we will get to the you part of this conversation, I can assure you. Two things I'm really curious about, mate. First one, is the fact that you now going up against a non-Victorian team a factor when you take into account Hawthorn in 14, Bulldogs in 16, Geelong in 2022? Now, I don't think there's much debate around going in to those grand finals. You guys were either in better form during the prelims or the better side throughout the home and away season. That's happening again. I mean, let's be honest, by halftime of the Port Adelaide game, you guys had shut up shop effectively. Port weren't coming back. And then, 14, 16, you go through, but you're effectively playing an away grand final if you're the best team in it. How does it feel now in a state side? Does that even the ledger, even psychologically, do you reckon, or a bit of a non-factor?
Oh, I think it definitely does. Usually coaches like to say, it isn't really too much of a factor. It's just a venue. We'll play our best footy there. But you always got to consider it. But it's nice. It's going to be a pure, even matchup. Two sides that don't play at the G and have had their struggles at the MCG. I think Brisbane as a lad have been a bit better there, though. I mean, they were off the back of an outstanding prelim final win. I think that's one of their more resilient performances of quite some time for the Lions. So they'll probably have a little bit of that advantage. We haven't played at the G since April, and the last time we played at the G was that big win against Hawthorn. Sorry, I didn't want to bring that one up.
That's right. You guys smacked us. That's more than fair.
Yeah, so we haven't played there in a little while, but I think in general we usually do play down in Melbourne quite well. But yeah, really excited just for a pure neutral matchup, and may the best team win.
I love that, and that's kind of the as silly as it sounds, the best team win. It really does feel like that. Brisbane as fifth. False fifth sounds a bit harsh, but if we were doing power rankings coming into the finals, I don't think anyone would have had Brisbane fifth. They had the biggest win streak of any team throughout the year, or I actually think they equaled with you guys potentially. I think it was 9 in a row. Anyway, they had a 9-game winning streak. We'll go with that, which is unbelievable form coming in. As you were watching that prelim final, if I could have messaged you, I probably should have, but I was out and about. Who did you want to play? Were you pro Geelong, pro Brisbane, or are you kind of thinking to yourself, if you guys could keep bashing each other up here a little bit, that would really help us out no matter what?
Oh yeah, just keep on bashing and crashing. That's definitely always something you want to see, but not at the expense of no injuries. And unfortunately, that's just terrible to see Oscar McInerney go down. I think he's been huge for Brisbane. But to be fair, I didn't really mind who we're going to play. Where they're going to face a side who I felt were one of the best sides in the second half of the year, or a team that we got belted by 84 points 2 years ago. So we'd have to, we're sort of like on our own redemption mark this finals series. We finally beat the Giants for the first time in a finals game. We finally beat Port for the first time in 8 years. So, it's going to be another tricky game against Brisbane, who I think have the wood over us. The last few matchups, haven't beaten them since, I think, 2021. But, that's pretty much all I've got to say regarding that.
And as it turns out, mate, not only the two teams in the granny, the top two coaches in the AFL Coaches Association Coach of the Year award. And to be honest, as tongue-in-cheek as I was on Twitter, genuinely think well-deserved. I mean, when you get to the grand final, you should win it. The laughable thing is that Clarko never won one, but that's something that the Hawks fans complain about, and that's about it. Talk us through Johnny Longmire, and then I'm going to talk up Chris Fagan here. Do you think that non-Sydney fans can kind of underestimate the effect that Horses had because you guys effectively since round 3 almost just announced yourselves as the best team all year, and that opinion didn't change? Therefore, you get a little bit boring to analyse. Is that fair, and kind of the genius behind Horse, that he just got you out of the gate early and no one really seemed close, even when you had a little bit of a drop-off in the back end?
Well, he's always been a pretty, sort of, when he does his press conferences, he always seems like that very, what's the word? Not very expressive or anything,
Mm.
or tries and controls his emotions, and always, quite humble and respects the opposition as well. So he never likes to get carried away. Always respects the opposition with every preview, pretty much. But yeah, he's been an outstanding leader, and I can only say so much of him. I think if you're in the inner sanctum, you talk up Longmire quite a bit. I mean, Andrew Prudham, the chairman, I was listening on the radio today. They're just like at this stage with how the horse's reputation, pretty much. He can just keep on going until when he wants to finish up, really. And the succession plan's always been a success at the Swans as well. So Dean Cox probably will make way the next few years. But yeah, I think he always demands respect to Longmire with the person he is. It just shows a really good chemistry with the playing group as well. But there is a little bit of the downside. Hasn't been able to get it done really in grand final day. And when we always lose grand finals, I think within the Swans forums, it's always questions raising on what's happening. How is he preparing the players on the big days? So there is definitely justified pressure on him. And for goodness sake, I just finally want to see us bloody win one. Just like this anger a wee bit. We've been waiting and we've just been falling short, oh so close. But no, I love horse, and I feel like surely this could be the year.
You just want to shake something and just win one. Just come on, boys. This is it. We're long overdue. Although you got Brisbane fans might argue as well with the era of success compared to where they've come from. They'll probably be thinking we're due for one as well. Both runners up is going to be awesome. We'll kind of shift to Brisbane a little bit here, mate, as they are there, of course. What's impressed you the most about Brisbane this year? Coming back off a really tight grand final loss, having to rebound, gave up that massive lead against the Blues in opening round, started the year really slow, especially in the midfield, and they've been able to go on this resurgence. So what have you seen of the Lions this year? What do you think about them?
We had them for the premiership tip at the start of the year. Just felt close grand final. It's going to really get their hunger in. Look, their hunger heading into this game is going to be sky high, and I think what Fagan's been able to do the second half of the year is really build the self-belief in the group. I feel like they know that they can genuinely win this game, and they just had such a resilient year. Started off 2-5 or something, had a draw, I think, in there as well. And they've been able to cover injuries really well too. They've had Kitty Coleman and Lincoln McCarthy go down, and Darcy Garner, another one of their key position players. But look who they've been able to plug the gaps with. Zorka goes in defence, All-Australian year. Kai Lohman, highly rated within the playing group, unable to find a spot the last few seasons, comes in as a breakout year. So, yeah, I think the play management's been a tremendous thing considering the injuries they've had. And they've just really built confidence, I think, week by week, especially in the second half of the season. And I think Stewie Jew's holding some influence too. I've read somewhere since he's joined as some sort of, I think, assistant role, they've gone 13 or 2, some crazy number. But yeah, they're just such a damaging side with those forward half players. They do boast, and I feel like, they're hitting their straps at the right time. And Cam Rayner and Zach Bailey, they can always take a game on the forward half. They've just got, plenty of exciting players. Can just see what they throw at us.
Stewie Drew, the star, taught Travis Head how to bat. That was the meme that was going around as well with his work internationally. And look at the form that Trav is in. Yeah, I think the high half forwards, mate, is going to be really interesting in this game. So you talked about Bailey and Rayner, who had 37 between them and kicked 4. In terms of what you want from your high half forwards, can't ask for much better than that. Whereas I've noticed with you guys that you're kind of playing at least one of your half forwards, predominantly Will Hayward, as your genuine third tall role. So not really getting up to that half-back spot. We know Tom Papley will just effectively roam around, do what he does, and celebrate as he should, because I love him. And anyone that doesn't, come on, personality, we need it in sport. Anyway, my little rant over. In terms of a territory game, which is what the grand final is going to be, is that a concern of yours that these high half forwards for Brisbane are going to be able to help take territory on the rebound compared to the Swans that'll want, the Jake Lloyds and the Harry Cunninghams and the Nick Blakeys of the world to be your arc-to-arc players?
Yeah, territory game is going to be a huge one, I think. And alongside that, it's just how the stars really going to shape up. Who's going to really turn up to this game? Is it going to be Neil, Dunkley, Ashcroft, or is it going to be Heaney, Chad Warner, Errol Gooden for us? But I feel like we defend really well as a back six when we're on song. So I think if we keep those forwards, if we keep accountable on those forwards, not let them out the back. I think, especially in that second half, Brisbane's ability to move the footy quick by hand, get a lot of speed on the ball, looked really threatening. So we've really got to be on our toes. And I feel like it's been a bit of a weakness with us. We've had inability to lock it in our forward half. So we've just, in my eyes, got to really break even in the contest in clearances, because when we can usually do that or even win it, the rest of our game usually takes care of itself.
Yeah, I think so in a massive way. Jimmy Jordan. I think there's only two blokes he could go to, Lachie Neale or Dane Zorko. And if you want your three midfield boys going head-to-head, is it as simple as just plant yourself next to Dane for 120 minutes and don't come off him until you get your medal? Is that the way you're leaning? Or is it as simple as two-time Brownlow medalist, go and stop him and we'll figure out the rest?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. When we did play the Lions last time out, Taylor Adams actually put some attention onto him, and he had one of his better games this season. But yeah, I think Rowbottom in stoppages will go with him head-to-head as expected. Look, he isn't going to be 100%, but still, I think his ball-winning ability and his cleanliness in and unders definitely still going to be his absolute strength, but probably not his ability to cover the ground as much. And then, yeah, I think Jordan's always that guy that can definitely, keep defenders accountable with his work rate. And he can always, just get really highly involved in attacking chains for us. So, yeah, we can't let Zorko rebound, but we've really got to try and get him out the back, because especially in that second quarter, Stengel and all so close really got let off the chain when they were able to break congestion. So, yeah, got to keep those defenders accountable for the Lions.
Oh, you're not wrong in the slightest. Now, if I said to, I will instead of a hypothetical, I'm going to ask you the question. Who do you reckon's the best field kicker at the Swans? I do have a follow-up to this, but we'll answer this one first. Who's the best field kicker at the Swans, do you reckon?
Oh, it's hard to go past Errol, if I'm brutally honest. But, really deeply looking at him, sometimes he can be a little bit too cute, especially when he's heading in within the boundary line tries. Instead of going the simple option, we'll try and go in between two. And, yeah, that's what you're going to get with Errol. He can either hit our target beautifully or go with a clanger kick. But I actually did see Justin Macca, and he's one of the top-rated field kicks in the comp. And watching him play, he's always a lovely kick on the run as well. So I think Juzzy, a bit of that smoky type, is always a lovely kick. And Ollie Florent, his kicking inside 15 for the ball is excellent too. So I think that's just one of our strengths at the Swans. We always have a high amount of good field kicks, but I think one of those three.
And weirdly enough, the man who pulled off the greatest field kick of the year, any team, any game, was not one you mentioned, and I know you'll know this. Jimmy Jordan kept the ball in play and hit Braden Campbell in between three opposition players, mate. It's genuinely one of the best field kicks I've ever seen. And from a tagger, I mean, Braden Campbell as the sub was insane, don't get me wrong. That is up there as one of the best field kicks I've ever seen, genuinely.
Yeah, and it reminded me of that Luke Applett moment. I think it was in the 2005 semi-final where he slapped the ball. That was a similar spot to keep that ball alive. It was just an awesome kick. And how good was Campbell as a sub? And I probably think he'll be the sub this Saturday. Just the perfect type that can really come on and make an impact.
And it's going to be really interesting, mate, that you'll be the first team since 2016 to go into a grand final without your captain. Ryan Daniels reporting that John Longmire's told Callum Mills that he won't be playing on the weekend. And as crazy as this sounds, and this speaks to the level of depth and that we've been speaking about a little bit, that Callum Mills out structurally, I know leadership-wise he's going to bring a lot, but structurally it sounds like you've got enough to cover in a way that if you do go down, I don't think it's going to be because he wasn't there, which is just a testament to how good your footy club is, I think.
Yeah, depth's been a big part this year, bringing across the likes of Tal Adams too. He's been, I think, very good for us, but he's not even in the best 23, so that definitely says something. So, yeah, Robbie Fox, I think, will come in or at least be the sub, can definitely rotate in the back line and, man up on one of those dangerous Brisbane smalls. But I think this year what's really surprised me is we've played just bloody great footy without him. And look, I don't want to be too harsh, but he pretty much has shot himself in the foot with his season, with what he did back earlier in the year. So I think he's just going to have to face the consequences. But had a nice little resurgence playing as a full-time defender. I thought, especially after that Essendon game, he had, I think, over 20 touches and 10 marks. I feel like he'd be an important part in September with his leadership and, just always his composure in the back half. But definitely have the confidence to play some good footy without him. But yeah, still heartbreaking stuff. But right decision made. I just think it has to be because 2016, Mills hamstring, McVeigh, I think he had a calf, didn't look 100%. And we all know the Sam Reid, Delama and Horse apologising in the post-match press conference. So yeah, I think he's learnt his lesson a bit, Horse.
Yeah, and that's what we love, mate. Evolution, learning from your mistakes in a big, big way. The matchup I'm looking forward to the most, partly because I don't think we can say, or doubt, I should say, his ability in big games, but Tommy McCartan v. Joe Danaher is just about going to be worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, he always scares me a bit, Joe. You just never know what you're going to get with him. He can pull out goals left, right, and centre. But yeah, his backup ruck work is always really good too. And how good was it against the Cats? Just able to rip it out of ruck contests, get it forward. But yeah, I always really highly rate Joe. Even what he does around the ground, rucks up disposals, helps up high up the ground. So yeah, I think probably would go to Tommy McCartan, but even also Lewis Mellican could do a job. But I think it isn't necessarily Tom McCartan needs to have a big game. As I said before, we defend really well as that back six unit. So yeah, the keys though are going to have to require a big game and just bring the ball to the ground.
And I don't care who you are, mate. And the Sam Taylor contest against Joe late in the semi-final proved it. If there's no pressure up the ground, good luck. It's as simple as good luck. And I love Tommy McCartan genuinely, and I love Sam Taylor. The love I have for Sam Taylor's borderline restraining order worth just about for Sam. But your pressure up the ground, especially against Port, but in the second half against the Giants as well, was so prevalent. Is there a concern that you're going from the S to the MCG and your ability to pressure, especially wide? Port wanted to cut you off at the corridor and you wanted to cut off their easier hit-ups at half forward, it looked like. With the wider expanses of the G, is that a concern that the amount of space that you'll have to guard is going to be so drastically different to what you've experienced, as you said, not since April?
I don't really think so, to be honest. We're able to apply really good front half pressure at any ground with when I've watched us play. No matter what ground, really. So don't think it'd be too much of a concern. But yeah, I think we're just going to have to really dictate this game with our ball movement and punish off the turnover. No matter what ground it's going to be, force turnovers and just execute well off those lines mistakes, because that's where we can really play our best footy.
Yeah, definitely so. So apart from the obvious, how do you think Brisbane could get on top of you? We can kind of do the scouting report on the Swans and we'll talk about Brisbane, but what concerns you, mate? Where do you think Brisbane could get on top and punish you guys enough for 2 hours in order to, well, I don't want to say pinch, but to take the cup away or take it to Queensland? What concerns you, either about the way Brisbane play or how they could exploit playing you guys?
First off, just the midfield game. Said before, we always seem to not turn up in the contested game, and Brisbane are a very good clearance side. And again, how they go without McInerney, that's still a big out for them. But their ability at first possession, in and under, especially from stoppages, is really good. That's what I always notice with them. So we've got to really turn up to the contest, win the territory battle off that. And Harris Andrews always scares me. I swear, every time we play this guy, just 10 intercept marks a game, we always kick it to him. So we've got to get really good service from our tools, like we did against Port. When it was just an absolute far cry against the Giants. We've got nothing from Marty McLean, so they're going to have to get really busy. But yeah, just their intercepting game always worries me. They were excellent at that against the Cats. And yeah, I mean, just any side that has very good ball movement like the Lions, you've always got to, be a little bit cautious, especially. But yeah, midfield battle's probably the biggest concern for me. Can we break even in the contest?
Yeah, I like it. Who do you think's Brisbane's biggest wild card, mate? So outside of your Neils, your Zorkos, your Andrews, your Dunkleys, McCluggage, those kind of names that we know, Danaher, who do you think's that guy from Brisbane that if he really turns it on could worry you a little bit that some of us may not be thinking of?
Well, I'll give you two. These two always just worry me whenever we play them. In the forward line, Calamachi, and it's a bit more of a noticeable one given how good his finals series has been. But yeah, geez, he's
dominating.
Yeah, I mean, he kicked the winner against us, for goodness sake. But he's just one where he doesn't have much reputation, but you got to give him respect. Otherwise, he can be let off the chain and have some impactful moments. And in the defence, I mean, Darcy Wilmot's a player I really love watching.
You just stole my answer. Yeah, nice.
Oh, really? Well, there you go.
Yeah, Darcy, yeah.
Yeah, he's just awesome to watch. He just flies to mark so well. Really has a really good ticker and can always rebound superbly for Brisbane. So yeah, I think those two always come to mind.
Yeah, those two 44s in this game are going to be really interesting to watch with their contrasting styles, similar positions. So no Oscar McInerney there. Brodie Grundy's role is probably going to be under, I think, potentially more scrutiny. How have you seen Brodie's first season in the red and white, and how confident are you that he's going to be able to perform in a way that he's going to lead you guys to a win? Because the easy trap to go in would be lesser opponent. Let's take it out of the air. See if we can bundle it forward. And that didn't really work out too much. A little bit like Oscar McInerney did against the Pies last year. I think he had 10 clearances, only 2 led to scores.
Well, all respect to Tom Hickey, he was a great servant for us, but I just felt when Grundy came across, anything's going to be better than 2023 version of Tom Hickey. So I was really excited, and yeah, he's had a solid year, and I was understandable. I felt I was probably a little bit too much hype, thinking, oh, he's going to be all Australian. Like, I think with his numbers, he's been a fairly above average ruckman. But yeah, still some of his hit up work has been noticeably quite good. He can sometimes have his bad moments in the ruck, but just his aggression at grand level, I think halfway through the year, I was checking his top 5 in the comp for hardball gets. So yeah, just his ability with his follow-up work, and has a really good ability to win those hardballs is important for us in the contest. So that's where I've really liked Grundy. And yeah, he's been an excellent pickup for us this year, given how cheap we got him. And it's going to be, still think, a big matchup. Darcy Fort's definitely a type that can bash and crash. Grundy doesn't like those physical ruckmen. So yeah, I'm not getting ahead of myself. Fort apparently has had good numbers in the VFL birds. So yeah, it's going to be an intriguing matchup. But yeah, Grundy's got to treat this like I've got to own this ruck matchup, given the reputation he has.
Yeah, and Darcy Fort loves sneaking forward as well. And that's going to be really interesting if Brodie can go with him or tries to match him and punish him on turnover, which is going to be interesting.
And what was that record? What was that record Darcy Fort had? It was like he kicked the most goals before ever kicking behind. It was like 14, 15 goals.
Yeah, 14. Yeah, about that. Yeah.
It's just crazy. So yeah, definitely could sneak forward for sure.
Absolutely. So Brisbane's wildcard, we agree with Darcy Wilmot there in a massive way. And who's Sydney's version of a wildcard that outside of the Stars, which is going to be easy to name, 5 of them in the All-Australian squad. That doesn't include Grundy, and we've spoken about McCartan a little bit. Who's the Swan maybe not many are thinking of that could pop up as this kind of hero on grand final day, circa a Xavier Ellis for the Hawks in 2008, just because I've got to sneak them in there, or even circa with the Cats, someone like Isaac Smith, who, yes, was surrounded by better players, but eventually took the PI55. I know Smith's reputation probably doesn't scream underrated wild card in that Geelong side, though. Selwood, Danger, potentially could have been. Who's the guy from the Swans that if they pop up and have a good game, we'll be able to say that you claimed it?
Well, might as well go with the other 44, Jake Lloyd. He's had a great positional change this year onto the wing. And, he's the best and fairest, high reputation player. But, his numbers did fall off the last few seasons. But he's been awesome on the wing for us this year. It's the perfect position for him in my eyes, because he's just a smart user, and he just knows where to position himself around the ground. He knows when to time his runs for handball receives. And it's just always that calming influence whenever he has it. And there's always players where you just love when they get on the scoreboard and they're just such a naturally beautiful kick for goal. And Jake Lloyd is one of those players too. There's not a better sight whenever he puts one through the big sticks, like he did against Brisbane when we thought we had the winner. So, yeah, Lloyd, he can accumulate the footy, but I just think with his 4th grand final, he knows it's going to be a big one for himself. So, yeah, he's going to be one of our veterans. I think he could come out and have a sneakily good game.
Now, in watching the KO minis and such of the finals, after watching them live, because I'm a freak like that, if I could give Jake Lloyd any advice, which is not something I tend to do because Jake Lloyd, professional footballer, me in Gippsland, Victoria, watching him, not an AFL footballer, I just think he needs to figure out a celebration. I don't know if you've seen the goal against the Giants from 50, but he kind of does 3, but he never finishes any of them. It's amazing. It's if you go back and watch it, because he starts with a fist pump, turns to the crowd, and then goes to do a secondary one. It's great. I love it so much. So, Jakey boy, if you hit the scoreboard, mate, just stick with one celebration. We're all good with that. Speaking of celebrations, though, mate, those tall forwards for the Swans. Joel Amadi, of course, kicked 9 against the Crows, kicked the winner against the Giants. Thought he had some really impactful moments. We were talking privately about his influence, but he and especially Logan McDonald, I know Hayden McLean's going to play that second ruck role, so he probably gets a bit more of a pass, but those two boys, when you compare to Danaher and Hipwood, have really got to stand up. Where's your faith standing in those two boys delivering on the big stage?
Yeah, they've got to turn up, bring service in the air. When we don't get that, we can struggle when we're hoofing it down the line. Because, yeah, we've used a bit more boundary like we did against Port Adelaide. So if the corridor's closed and we need to go down the line, we need to win contests, create contests. So, yeah, expect them to really turn up. McDonald really enjoyed this year. And there's always questions, especially from the outside, people that do watch things like, oh, he's not putting up high numbers left, right and centre. But what's really impressed me, I've just loved his natural development of his work rate, pushing up the ground, his defensive efforts. He can apply some really good tackles here and there as well. And yeah, basically plays at halfback, sometimes in defensive 50 stoppages. So I've really loved his season. And Joel Amati, yeah, he kicked 9 goals, but he still kicked 40 goals this year. He still had a terrific output given the player he's had. It's been pretty much his first fully fit season. He's always had injuries here or there. He's had a full preseason. He said in press conference earlier before. So yeah, I've got really good trust and really good belief that they can deliver on the final stage. But I don't want to death ride Brisbane or anything. But I still think there's a bit of pressure on Hipwood and Danaher to also definitely get it done on the big stage as well. But yeah, definitely going to back in the tools to get the job done, and yeah, just bring those balls to ground, especially.
Yeah, more than reasonable. Joe, outstanding in last year's grand final. Eric, not so. But, we've seen it with a few Brisbane games. The Bulldogs game especially, Eric kicked 6. I think he kicked 5 in gather round against North as well, and he kicked a bag against Port when they absolutely smacked him at Adelaide Oval. So he can get it done. Anyone, as we know, mate, in one game, any person, any time, any moment. Is there anything else in particular that worries you, mate? Traditionally, the Lions are a reasonably good back half scoring side. I think from source, they're 6th or 7th in the competition. In the back end of the season, they were definitely emerged in the top 4. How do you think your boys are going to be able to restrict their ball movement? Because once it's in their hands, they are not great at giving it back, which is great for Brisbane, probably not so for their opponent.
Yeah, we'll just bring heat, bring intensity around the footy, and that's where we've just got to turn up. And look, this grand final, I think, will just be off key moments as well, off the little things, who can win that grand ball, who can win an outnumbered contest there. So what I've liked about us, especially the last 2 finals, even against the Giants, when we won possession back, we didn't panic, we didn't fluster, we just used it well. And still took the game on with some smart decision making. So I think that's definitely got to come to the fore when we're able to win it back. And yeah, just make some just really smart decisions and not cough it up and have some silly turnovers, especially in the back half. And Blakey and Florent can be prone to that a little bit as well. So yeah, got to use it very wisely whenever we have ball in hand and bring the heat defensively.
Yeah, it's amazing that the amount of contest and the amount of composure that makes up the majority of finals is unreal. We all look for these kind of stats and we all look at these points of difference, mate, but it's as simple as when the ball's in dispute, who gets there first, and then when you've got it, who slows down. It's amazing how simple a very complicated game can be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm really curious. I mean, I could go through effectively all 44 players. I'm not. So I am really curious about the Swans' ability. So once the ball hits the ground in their forward half, you've obviously got Papley there, you've got Hayward there, but the ability of your midfielders to get forward, I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, but I believe between the 3 of them, between Errol, Heaney and Chad, they've kicked 60 goals between them. I think it's over that amount now because of the finals. Every goal there is going to be a premium. Can you see any of them potentially kicking a match-winning 3 or 4, or are you firmly putting it either on a conscious team effort, doesn't matter who kicks them as long as they get kicked, or do you think there's a player for the Swans that you think is maybe under more scoring pressure than any other?
Oh, I've got really good belief that the mids can really cause impact for the ball. I think that's where we have the edge over Brisbane when you compare each other's midfields. I think always our contest has definitely been a vulnerability the last few seasons, but what's really bumped us up the midfield power rankings, if you want to call it, is just the scoring prowess with our players. Chad Warner loves to take the game on in every possession, and I think it's critical that Rowbottom's able to win those inside balls, because when Heaney and Chad and and they're all really get off the chain. It's always those insiders, even like a bit of Justin McInerney will probably be in the centre bounce as well. But win the inside ball and use it well on the outside. Certainly is going to be important, but Warner can definitely cause some impact. But yeah, Heaney, I think he can just float forward so well, and that could be an issue for Brisbane. There's been times this year where when Heaney floats forward, they don't have a good enough matchup for him. Like Jace Burgoyne had a few inside 50s matchups on him, so we've really got to try and exploit Brisbane there. But yeah, if we win, I am backing Heaney for the Brownlow. Not Brownlow, sorry. Wish I did get the Brownlow, the Norm Smith medal. I just feel like this is his time to really deliver. And should we win, we just need that scoring prowess from the midfield group. So I don't think really anybody's under any pressure to get it done in front of the big sticks. But I did read somewhere, I think when Heaney and Chad combined for like 4 goals or something, we have a very good record. So yeah, we do rely, I think, quite a little bit with goals from midfields. But I think with both teams especially, there's just such an even spread of contributors in that forward half that can put on a goal or two.
Now, if this comes to fruition, I'll happily call us both geniuses here because we both deserve the collective credit. Let's say it comes down to a goal after the siren, which has never happened in a grand final before, to win the game. 1977 kicked it after the siren to have a draw, but to win the game, we'll start with your boys. It's 45 out. It's directly in front. The Logan McDonald spot, we'll call it, against the Saints. Who would you want it from the Swans? If you could pick who it is, 45 out, you're down by 3 to win the game. 1 player, ball in hand. The Swans kicker is?
Chad Warner.
I think
he's sneakily a very good set shot. That's what I always notice about him. He's got a very deliberate run up and an approach at it. Has a very straight ball drop. I think he slots them quite well. Luke Parker's also another smoky, but Marty McLean, can be a little bit skew if, and McDonald, if he's going to have another, I'd love to see him slot it, but I just can't.
What a redemption arc that would be.
It certainly would be. No, but I'll go Chad. I think with the player he is, I think this could be his grand final own, and he was one of the highest ranked players 2 years ago, so he knows what to expect.
Yeah, he rocked up for sure. Probably the only one that did, unfortunately. And then in terms of Brisbane, we can put the let's put the for me it is neutral, but for you, mate, unbiased aside, because it would stink for any fan to watch their team lose a kick after the siren. Who do you think's the safest kick for Brisbane if they were having it after the siren to win the game? 45 out directly in front.
Oh well, accuracy and Brisbane don't really, unfortunately, go well together, especially in the back half of the year. I'm not trying to potshot them or anything. It's just pure facts. I think Zach Bailey's one that can always break the game open. So if he's going to get an opportunity, I think his ability to be a match winner always is definitely threatening. So I'll go with someone like him.
Yeah, he's done it before against the Pies at Marvel a couple of years ago. Call me crazy. If someone had told me this would have been my answer at the start of the final series, I probably would have laughed. I think I'm going Calamachi. To be perfectly honest with you, in every big moment, in every final, I think in final quarters this year, in finals, he's kicked 4 straight. Exposed form, I'm taking it, in all honesty, mate. We'll go Norm Smith medalist, we'll give our tips, and I think we might get out of here, mate, because I think the little bloke out in my lounge room's getting a little restless, so I might go and have to look after him, but that's okay. Norm Smith medalist, mate, 1 from each club. We'll start with your boys.
Heaney for me. If we're going to win this game of football, I think that means really get to work. That's just always been a glaring issue. So Heaney's had 2 unbelievable finals, 10 coaches' votes from both games. Why can't he go out and dominate? I know it's the vanilla answer, but I think it's just his time to finally deliver on the big stage. Yeah, Heaney to kick 2 or 3 maybe and get plenty of it.
Mate, as far as I'm concerned, it's only a boring answer because of how good he is. I'm going to go the Chadwick. I reckon just after 2022 as well, the form he's in, he could absolutely, if we go along the path of the third quarter dominance, the premiership quarter as we often call it, I just reckon the pace he's got, the burst from stoppage, I reckon he could turn it on, have sort of 10, kick 2 in that third quarter, mate, and set you off and racing. Who do you reckon it could be from Brisbane if they do get over the line? Well, who is going to have to put in that kind of Norm Smith medal performance to get over the line?
I think McCluggage, he was very good against us that fourth quarter, but yeah, he's just such a smart user and he's always really composed in there. And I think maybe I don't think. I mean, Neil could definitely win it too, but him not 100%. Could Ashcroft? I think he could potentially have a very big game as well. But McCluggage is just one that could definitely break open the play. Yeah, just with his smart decision making. So yeah, I'll go McCluggage for the Lions.
Yeah, nice. I've got Will. I think he's hitting form at exactly the right time. Missed last year, so the redemption arc from him is good. I know you're going to back in your boys, mate. This would be a really weird way to end the preview if you go, after this entire chat, I reckon it's Brisbane by this much. But are you confident enough to give us an instinctual margin for this game as you're hoping your boys hoist up the trophy?
Yeah, I did my preview video yesterday. So if anybody wants to, I don't
of course you need to go and check it out. We're only spoiling one bit of it. The rest of it is gold. So
yeah, sorry about that, but just need to be said.
No, that's all right.
I'll still back us in. I'll still stick with my tip of us by 14. But yeah, mind is racing. I could just see anything. I could see us falling short again. I could see us shitting our pants once again on the big stage. I hope not, but yeah, just the brand of footy we've played. I think our best is the best. We've been able to show it this year. And if we really get that ball movement going, and that turnover game is definitely one that if we can outscore the Lions in that source, could be the difference between winning or losing the game. And back in our strong team defence, we defend well. As back six, yeah, Swannies by 14, I reckon.
Yeah, nice, beautiful. I've got you by 26. Chadwick Norman, it's going to be amazing. Well, mate, two things that I really want to say before we finish up here. The first one being a massive thank you for jumping on. You were one of the creators, mate, that I was watching before I even started doing videos, mate. So you've been an inspiration, and now that we've gone from inspiration to collaborator, mate, I really appreciate it in a massive way. And secondly, good luck there. I do have a good contingency of Brisbane fans who I hope don't hate me after this conversation and the tip, but mate, for anyone that's going through this at the moment, the best of luck. And I do mean that towards the Brisbane fans as well. But I hope that you can have an enjoyable day, mate. And if the Swans do get across the line and you do get time to check your Twitter, there will be a message there from me at least congratulating you, mate, because you boys do deserve to get over the line. You've been the best team all year, and it really hasn't been that close. But as we know, anything can happen on grand final day. But good luck, and fingers crossed you can enjoy the day. How are you watching it? Are you going? Will you be at home, a mate's place, barbecue? How are you enjoying it?
Yeah, thanks very much for getting me on, Daz, by the way, mate. Yeah, I've been loving your stuff, and yeah, you've been pumping out some great content as of late.
I appreciate that, mate, but I don't do well with positive encouragement, so if we...
Nah, you're right, mate. Nah, been loving the stuff, so yeah, enjoyed the chat. Yeah, thanks, heading down to the grand final, driving forward Friday morning. Yeah, sort of a bit fortunate as a supporter of a non-Victorian club, because it's a bit more easier to get membership access at the start of the year for Priority 1 tickets. So I was able to get them. So yeah, M32, I think it is. So level 1, bay right next to the cheer squad. Yeah, it's pretty lucky. I'm just really excited. 2 years ago, I was right up at level 4, and you'd have to lean over to see the goal square from the closest end. So yeah, it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. Yeah, just really keen for it. And once again, thanks very much for getting me on.
No, mate, I appreciate it in a massive way. So for everyone that is watching, number one, go subscribe to this man if you haven't already. I mean, everyone has, but for anyone that's left and you haven't, just go and do it, especially going into next year. His content is amazing. Just go and subscribe to him. I know this is the part where I should be plugging me, but stuff that, I'm plugging him. He's a star, an absolute legend. Brisbane fans, again, good luck to you as well. I've loved everything that you have done this year, as I know that you have. So fingers crossed you guys can have a really, really good day. Stay tuned to the channel because there's more trade stuff. There's more draft stuff. Go check out the September mock draft. There is an error that I made with West Coast that should be Richmond's, which a lot of you have pointed out, which I appreciate you doing so. Keep Daz accountable. I like it. But go check those out. Post-grand final, there'll be plenty of stuff as well. Riles, good luck, mate. Enjoy the trip down. Fingers crossed you get back safely as well. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy family. Look after yourselves. Stay safe over the grand final weekend. I'll see you next time.